What's up, guys? I'm Elise Palacios, and I help real estate agents and team leaders get from production to legacy. It's my goal with every video to give you at least one actionable tip that you can put directly into your business to help you get closer to your income goals. And today we're talking about getting your deals under contract. If you haven't already, click the link below to head on over to our Reinvest Real Estate School community and check out the resources that we have available. And part of that is going to be video examples of how to implement the strategies we're going over today. Let's be real. Getting an offer accepted in this market is not just about offering more money. A seller is going to choose an offer that has the least likelihood of falling apart. And what does that mean for your clients? And how can you compete against cash offers and multiple bids in order to get your client their dream home? By strengthening the terms of your offer, you're letting the seller know that there's going to be a much smaller chance of having financing delays, inspection surprises, or appraisal issues. Today I'm breaking down 5 strategies that we use at Reinvest to help our clients get their offers accepted in a competitive market. The first strategy is going to be to waive your mortgage contingency. Now, what exactly is that, and what does that mean for a seller? The mortgage contingency date is typically 3 to 4 weeks out from the date you go under contract. And it's the time period in which your buyer has the ability to get their loan approved by. During that time frame, your client's deposit is protected. If for some reason they're unable to obtain financing, they're able to back out the deal free and clear and get their deposit back and move on. This is one of the main reasons why sellers choose cash offers over financed offers, because a buyer is able to just back out of the deal, get their deposit back, and move on if for some reason they're not able to get a loan, which in reality, a lender can deny a loan because a buyer goes out and spends all of their savings on a gambling adventure or a new car. It's a little bit of a gray area on how exactly a loan can get denied, and there are some loopholes that people have used in the past in order to back out of a deal and use this as their excuse. Waiving this contingency shows the seller that your buyer is really confident in their ability to get their loan approved and get to the closing table. Keep in mind, this is not for every buyer. Questions to ask could be along the lines of, how confident are you that your financial situation or your employment status is not going to change at all in the next 3 to 4 weeks before that mortgage contingency date? Refer your clients back to their lender to talk about the risks associated with including this term in a contract. Buyers who are pre-underwritten, we'll cover what that means next, have a lot more confidence in waiving their mortgage contingency deadline. A pre-approval is just not enough these days. Sellers are looking for buyers who can close with confidence quickly. Getting pre-underwritten is that next step beyond getting a pre-approval. A lender, when issuing a pre-approval that's good for about 90 days, is doing a quick overview of your client's credit, income, assets, and debts. Getting pre-underwritten is actually that next step in the process of getting your file sent to your lender's underwriting department and having them review in more detail your full financial situation. This is usually a step that's done once you're under contract on a property, but if you're able to get it taken care of beforehand, you're able to offer a much shorter closing time frame. So when competing against a cash offer who might be able to offer a 10 to 14 day closing time frame, you're able to be way more competitive and possibly offer a 21-day closing or less depending on your lender's ability to do so. Some lenders have a program that does this that has got a fancy name like the Green Light program or something like that. All you can do is reach out to your lender to see if they have some sort of pre-underwriting program that you can get involved with. This is going to help you be able to compete with a much quicker closing time frame on your offers, and you're able to do a lot of the legwork that you would have to do anyways once going under contract before you even start submitting offers. The third strategy I'm going to go over is appraisal gap coverage. So let's break down what that means. A home appraisal is a professional assessment of the current market value the property you're offering on, typically done by an unbiased third party, and it's most often required by your lender. In a situation where maybe you're doing a really small loan amount and the risk is really low for the lender, they might waive the necessity of having an appraisal done. But most often, it's a pretty standard step in the home buying process. The appraiser researches recently sold homes that are as comparable in condition, style, and location as possible with the property you're offering on, ideally sold within the last 3 months. Because no two houses are identical, appraisers are going to make adjustments when comparing the property that you're offering on to recently sold houses. For example, if a recently sold home is smaller than the one you're under contract on, an appraiser is going to add value to that comparable to adjust for that size difference. But here's the challenge. Appraisers are always looking in the rearview mirror when using those comparables, so having an understanding of the market and current demand is crucial for an accurate valuation. This is where appraisal gap coverage comes in. Buyers often say, I don't want to pay more than a home is worth. And the problem? The appraised value doesn't always exactly match the current market demand. If buyers are bidding above recent comparable sales, there's a chance the home won't appraise at the full contract price. Again, we're looking in the rearview mirror at possibly slightly lower sales if you're in an increasing market. An appraisal gap coverage reassures the seller, hey, I know we're offering a little bit over what recent sales support in terms of the data an appraiser is going to use, and we're willing to bring forward X amount of cash to keep this deal together if by chance the appraised value does not match up with the contract price. Now, sometimes a really strong buyer might say, hey, I don't care what it appraises at, I'm willing to bring forward any cash difference to keep this deal together. That can be a little bit risky because you're leaving an open-ended amount of what your buyer is going to bring to the table. Sometimes a buyer would set a specific amount, maybe $5,000, $20,000, and higher price points above $500,000. It's really common to see numbers as high as $50,000, $80,000 for an appraisal gap coverage. This is one of the most important terms that you can strengthen, and I make sure to educate my buyers thoroughly on what the appraisal process is and how it can affect their ability to get to the closing table before we even start looking at homes in their buyer strategy meeting. The fourth strategy to getting your offer accepted in a competitive market is going to be to strengthen your inspection and earnest money terms. The first thing you can do is shorten your inspection time frame. What we might have seen in previous markets is 7 to 14 days to have an inspection completed. In a competitive market, I'm reaching out to my inspector and penciling in before I even submit offers, so I can put a 2 to 3 day time frame to have inspections completed. And what that does is let the seller know that they're gonna find out really quickly if you're staying in this deal or leaving. Rather than waiting around for 2 weeks to see if a buyer is even going to stay in a deal, a really short time frame is going to get that information back to the seller and let them move on with their plans of packing and moving, possibly buying their next home. Waiving inspections completely takes away the concern for the seller of the deal possibly falling apart with potential issues that may come up. Not every buyer is going to be comfortable waiving the inspections entirely. Sometimes the buyer might just opt to have a foundation inspection or well, septic, some of those bigger ticket items. Beyond limiting the number of inspections your client is going to have, there are other ways to offer that extra reassurance to the seller that this deal is not falling apart. You've probably heard the term as is if you've been in the sales industry before. What that is a loose promise to the seller that you're not going to be nitpicky when it comes to inspection items. But it doesn't actually offer that seller any concrete guarantee that you're going to be sticking in the deal. And in a competitive market, it's very common to see as is on almost every offer that comes in. So you really do have to take it to the next level and strengthen your terms as much as possible. And you can do that by asking your client if there's a certain threshold they'd be comfortable with. Most houses are going to have some maintenance items come up on an inspection report. An inspector's job is to note absolutely everything wrong with the home. They want to provide a detailed report to your client so they have an understanding of what needs to be done with the property. But realistically, I always ask my clients during their buyer strategy meeting, what are you comfortable with and what levels of updates are you comfortable with? And if you had to spend $1,500 to $2,000 to replace a water heater, would you still move forward with buying the property? So figuring out what level of updates and items that they're comfortable tackling when they move in is going to help you in this next step. You can set a threshold and write it into your contract that the buyer is not going to back out, ask for any credits or repairs for any certain number of items that come up that are valued below a certain threshold. This threshold could be $1,000, $5,000, $10,000. some set number that the buyer understands if anything comes up, as long as it's not above that, we're comfortable moving forward. This gives that reassurance to the seller that they're really serious and they're not going to be nitpicky, and it puts it in writing, and it goes beyond that as is loose promise. Offering a larger earnest money deposit is going to give that seller reassurance that your buyer is going to get to the closing table. With more skin in the game, your buyer is more likely to follow through with the contract terms. The fifth and final strategy I'm going to share with you is to call under contract and recently sold listings. This is the best way to get the most accurate market data for your client. And it's going to help you determine how much you should be offering on a property and what types of terms are going to get your offer accepted. Those buyers who lost out on those other properties are likely your direct competition on the property you're offering on. And many agents love to help. The questions that I'd like to ask are, is the offer your seller accepted a cash or financed offer? Are you able to share, were all of your offers well over this? And I'll usually use a benchmark price point rather than just calling and say, hey, can you tell me the details of all of your other offers? An agent might not be as likely to engage in that conversation. So if you set benchmarks, you can at least hear how that agent responds to your question and what type of information they choose to share with you. And it can't hurt to ask. If I'm reaching out and showing initiative, most agents will engage in at least answering some of these questions. The goal is to pinpoint if our direct competition on this next offer is going to include certain terms that I can now relay to my clients. Maybe they weren't super comfortable waiving inspections to start, but if I reach out and I find out that the last 4 properties that have gone under contract and sold had 5 of the 10 offers waiving inspections, including an appraisal gap coverage, offering a really short inspection window, or cash financed, all of those details, if I can bring information to my clients, then they're able to make an educated decision. If your client has included an appraisal gap coverage on their offer, doing this type of research might help them keep more cash in their pocket. And what you could do is document the information you find by reaching out to those agents of the recently under contract and recently sold properties, pass it along to the listing agent of the property you're under contract on, and ask them to share that information with the appraiser. An appraiser might not go making those phone calls. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. If you bring them a lot of information that's going to help support the contract price, you might be able to help your client keep more cash in their pocket. Keep in mind, sharing this information with an appraiser is not always the best strategy. If you're the only offer on a property, you might have a chance to renegotiate your contract price down if the appraised value doesn't match your offer price. So keep in mind, keep your leverage and understand what type of competitive situation you're in before deciding what information to share with an appraiser. Don't forget to be an agent sellers want to work with. Agents who communicate well, consistently follow up, and present clean offers are the ones who are getting deals under contract consistently. A strong email summary that clearly explains offer terms can make a huge difference. And a strong agent reputation might help you stand out when presenting 2 offers that are really similar. An agent might talk up your professionalism in the past or your clear, consistent communication today. If you're serious about closing more deals in this market, click the link below, head on over to our Reinvest Real Estate Skool community where we have offer email templates and a mock buyer strategy meeting that's going to show you exactly how to explain these strategies in a real life example. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. We post new real estate content weekly.